Hello boys and girls, welcome to Story Time with Vincent. So today I'm going to tell a little story about an adventure I had a couple of days ago, and then I'm going to kind of give you my opinion on the state of things right now, both here in my state of Arizona and in the US in general. Very opinionated, and that's okay. I'd appreciate it if you'd at least listen and give it a thought and think about some of the stuff that's going on as I talk about the story. So, to give you a little background, I'm sure you can figure out, I have not worn a mask since any of this started. I'm a Costco member. I've been a Costco member, me and my family, and my family's business have been a Costco member for more than 2 decades. As long as me and my wife have been together and I've been a part of their family. So, a long time. And we shop there regularly. And during this whole COVID thing, during the entire year of 2020, every couple times a month I go to Costco and I make large purchases and I stock up. And in the beginning of all of this COVID stuff, Costco did not have a mask requirement, and it wasn't a big deal. Nothing about it. Then when the state started recommending it, they still didn't. And okay, great. I didn't really worry about it. I just kept going. And then at some point in time, our mayor decided, or the county, I should say, actually, the county decided to enforce a mask mandate on businesses. Costco put a sign up that said, you have to wear a mask. I'm not wearing a mask. And so I continued to shop there, and nobody said a thing to me. Eventually, Costco put someone at the door to ask people to put a mask on. I still did not put a mask on, and everything was fine and hunky-dory. It has been almost a year. Okay, so we're going on probably 10 months, 9 or 10 months since Costco first put their sign up to wear a mask. But clearly it's been a year since this whole COVID started, almost a year since this whole COVID thing started. And I have not worn a mask going to Costco. So a couple days ago, I go to Costco and I'm doing my shopping, and I'm about halfway done with my day, and I'm walking around, and a floor manager comes up and tells me that I need to put a mask on. And I say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that. She says, well, then you have to leave. And I said, no, I don't have to leave. Unlike small businesses, which are private property and private ownership businesses, this is a private club. A private club of which my business contracted an agreement with under the rules of membership and paid you for private access to your private club according to your rules. Said none of those membership rules have changed. My payment hasn't been canceled. I haven't canceled it, and you haven't canceled it. We have a contractual agreement that I can come on this private property to buy things from you at special prices, and I pay for that privilege. I said, I'm not putting a mask on. It's not illegal. You can't make me, and I'm not going to. I will, of course, always abide by people's personal space. I will always give them distance. I will always respect their individual space and privacy, but I'm not putting a mask on, and you can't make me. In which case, she proceeded to tell me that if I didn't put a mask on, I would be removed from the property. In which case, I told her, I don't think you have security who can remove me from the property. I said, but you are more than welcome to call the police department, and if they believe I am doing something illegal, they will come and escort me off the property. But until that happens, I'm not hurting anybody, no one is complaining about me, and I have no intention of putting a mask on. It was a slightly longer conversation than that, but that's the gist of it. She stomped off and said she was going to go get a store manager. After which, several people came up to ask me why the manager was getting hostile with me on the floor, and if it was because I wasn't wearing a mask. I, of course, said yes. Most of these people were wearing masks and were still greatly upset that a manager came to try to make me put a mask on when I wasn't bothering anybody and I wasn't hurting anybody, I wasn't doing anything. A couple of the people were elderly people who didn't have a mask on, and some of the people who came up to talk to me was a family of Hispanics who weren't wearing masks. Now, I only point out that they're Hispanic for further later in the story, otherwise I don't really care. So, I go about my shopping, and I continue doing what I'm doing, and then I go to the line, and I stand in line as I'm waiting to leave the store, to pay for my goods and leave the store, when the store manager comes up to me and tells me that I have to put a mask on or I have to leave. And I continue to tell him that I don't have to put a mask on, and I'm not going to leave. That I have permission to be here, in my contractual agreement with my private membership card, which I have in my hand, to say, look, here's my private membership card. Feel free to look up the membership rules and tell me what rule that I am breaking in the membership agreement that we have for me to come here and shop. I said, but otherwise, I'm not leaving. I said, you're more than welcome. And he continued with, this is private property, you have to leave. I said, this is private property, it's a private club, again, that I have membership to, and I don't have to leave just because you told me to. I'm not doing anything wrong. No one is complaining about my behavior or me being here. I'm not bothering anybody. You're simply being a bully and trying to force me to leave. In which case he responds, well, you're going to make me call the police. I said, yes, I am. And feel free. If I'm doing something illegal, the police department will happily send an officer down here who will escort me out of the store and ticket me or arrest me as need be. That's their job, and they will do their job because they're good at their job. So please feel free to call the police department. I said, but I don't think they're going to send anyone down. I'm not doing anything illegal. I'm not breaking any of your rules. No one's complaining about my behavior. I'm not being violent. I'm not insulting people. Not even raising my voice. So please, feel free to call the police department. In which case he responds with, well, we're just going to have to make you leave, and you're going to have to give up your membership, and we'll refund you your money. And I said, well, you can't make me leave. I said, you could try to physically remove me from the property, but I don't think that's going to go as well as you think it's going to go. And I don't want to give up my membership. I enjoy my membership. I like shopping here. I enjoy the agreement that we have as two businesses that allow me to shop here. And I don't wish to give that up. He then proceeded to stomp off over near a door behind the checkout area where I could see him pick up the phone and call someone, talking on the phone while I'm waiting in line, and then hanging up and not looking very happy. And then he talks to another floor supervisor or somebody, a young lady, and she comes up and talks to the woman that's working the till and looks over at me and then talks to her again and then walks off. And then I see the store manager come down and make another phone call where he talks for a little bit, and then he hangs up and he stomps off looking kind of irritated. Now, in his defense, at no point in time did he yell at me or call me names or physically try to push me around or anything like that. He was very professional, although I could tell he was getting quite irritated with me, which was probably deserving because I can be a very irritating person when I get something in my head and I don't want to let go of it. And although I wasn't yelling, I did raise my voice slightly because I wanted to draw attention to what was going on. Which, by the way, he was probably irritated for good reason, because as we were having our discussion, several of the same people I had talked to earlier in the store came up behind me and accosted the manager, telling him, why are you bothering him? Just let him be about his day. Stop trying to push people around. Just let the guy do his thing. In which case, then the manager comes up while I'm standing in line and tells me that he's calling the police and he's going to have me arrested. And I told him, great. You call the police, I'll be easy to find. I'm the one guy without a mask. In which case, several other people in line took off their masks and proceeded to tell the manager that, well, they're going to make it a little bit more difficult to decide who I am now that they're not wearing their mask. At this point is where I want to point out that the other people who weren't wearing a mask that I talked to before. I don't want to call them out for not wearing a mask. I appreciate the fact that they made decisions for themselves and chose not to wear a mask. The Hispanic family and the elderly couple that I had seen before, as well as the people who took their masks off afterwards in support of me standing up for my rights and my beliefs. These people weren't doing anything wrong, and I don't want you to make them think that I think they were doing anything wrong. They weren't. I point it out because I want to point out the fact that at no point in time did any manager, the original one who came to talk to me, or the store manager who came afterwards, during any point in this conversation ever go and accost anyone else in the store. The Hispanic family was less than 5 feet away from me when the first manager was coming up and yelling at me about not wearing a mask, and not once did she say a word to any of them. The elderly couple, who weren't wearing a mask, were standing right behind me in line when the store manager came up and accosted me about not wearing a mask, and at no point in time did he say a word to them. Not while I was in line, not before I got to the line, and not after I left the line. So, when I got up to the line and I showed my Costco membership card, and the wonderful woman who was running the till scanned it and started scanning my items. As scanning my items, proceeded to tell me that her supervisor came up and told her not to ring me up and to just tell me to leave the store. So I told her, I said, ma'am, If me not wearing a mask bothers you and makes you concerned that you might get sick, you have the right to not serve me, and I will have nothing left to do at this point but leave the store because I can't get anyone to ring up my goods. I said, but if you were told that your job might be in danger if you didn't ring me up, you could let me know that too, and I'll still be happy to leave the store, but I'm probably going to let somebody know that your management is threatening employees. She laughed, said nothing like that happened, and finished ringing me up and told me to have a great day, in which case I told her that I hope she has a wonderful holiday and a great day. As I was leaving the store, I was standing in line, the line to get out of Costco, which was rather long. They were slow checking people out, and Costco was quite busy. There was a woman in line on a radio calling in people who weren't wearing a mask. As they're leaving the store, they left the store, and she's calling it in that there's a man in the line not wearing a mask. In which case I proceeded to flip her off and give her the bird, because at that point in time I just thought it was hilarious. And I proceeded to leave the store, which checked out. Needless to say, there was no law enforcement officer waiting to escort me off the property or write me a ticket because I wasn't doing anything illegal, which I'm sure is what they told him on the phone when the manager called in. No, the great thing about this is what happened the next day. The next day, I got a UPS next day guaranteed delivered envelope, which had to cost like $40 to send, with a letter in it telling me that my Costco membership had been canceled and I was no longer welcome at the store. Needless to say, my family, my wife's father and my wife, who own and run their business, have decided they're no longer going to do business with Costco. They were already upset about the mask rule going up, but weren't super upset because they weren't really enforcing it. After this, they decided that they're going to be canceling their membership, getting a refund on their money, and issuing a formal complaint. I will also be issuing a formal complaint to the Arizona Corporation Commission because what Costco did was in violation of our contract. We had a contractual agreement of which they violated in my cancellation, and I hope that they get fined for it. But really, the point of this story is a statement about what's going on right now, both in the state of Arizona and in many other states, even worse than it is here. People, you need to make a stand for what you believe. You need to refuse to comply with illegal and unconstitutional orders and requests. The fact of the matter is, as grown adults, we're more than capable of deciding on our own, based on facts given to us, what we want to do. Whether we want to stay home or go out, wear a mask or not wear a mask, drive a car or not drive a car. These are decisions that we get to make as an adult. The fact is, there is no pandemic. The CDC declassified this as a pandemic months ago. They just did. This is just an outbreak. They've come right out and said that if you're under the age of 50, or 60, if you're under the age of 60, you're no more likely to die from COVID-19 than the flu. You know, if you're over the age of 60, your likelihoods are still minimal at best. They're tiny, they're microscopic in comparison. There are many, many, many things more lethal, both in the virus-wise and in the real world, that we deal with every single day, that we make our own decisions on how we're going to handle and how we're going to adjust and what we're going to do without any government interference. We don't need any now. And I certainly don't need bullies that aren't even a part of the government trying to push me around and tell me what to do. And so if you're like me, and maybe you've been wearing a mask in the past just because you don't want to confront people and you don't want to get into an argument, you don't want to have to decide, you don't want some manager getting in your face and calling you out, please, I urge you, be defiant. Refuse to comply. Take a stand. If you don't think you should wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Don't be afraid of confrontation. Stop being afraid of anything, for that matter. Stop being afraid of COVID-19. It's just a sickness. It's a sickness that is no more likely to kill you than the flu, and I doubt most of you were running around scared you were going to die from the flu. And most people aren't even afraid they're going to die from COVID. When you talk to people, they don't think, I'm so afraid I'm going to die from COVID. The people who are afraid say, I'm so afraid I'm going to get COVID. Because the TV and the media and politicians are pushing the get COVID scenario. Like it's this horrible thing to be afraid of. I don't run around my life paranoid I'm going to get a cold. I don't run around my life paranoid I'm going to get the flu. And I've had it lots of times. So stop being afraid. Stop being afraid of confrontation. Stop being afraid of talking to people. Stop being afraid in general. Be courageous. Live your life your way, the way you want, the way you think is important. And if that means putting on a mask, put on a mask. I'm not going to say anything to you. I don't care. And I don't think most other people do either. But if you don't want to wear a mask, don't wear one. And by all means, stop. Whether you wear a mask or not, whether you're afraid of getting COVID or not, stop letting government agencies tell us how to control our own health and our own life and our own well-being. That's a choice we get to make as free American citizens. Be free. Stand up.